Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary friends, welcome to the discussions of real cinema, aka talking about season 3, episode 5 and 6, less important, less fun, of The Summer Returned Pretty. We finally get the point of view of the king of yearning himself, Conrad Fisher. Boy, was it a treat to me. I have done videos like this in the past where I talk about episode 1 and 2, and then another one where I talk about episodes 3 and 4, in which I do connect them to the book and also give like general commentary through the episode. So we're here for that today. It's gonna be a hoot and a half. To my fellow Conrad girlies, you're gonna get it. To anyone who doesn't get it, you're gonna be like, is she annoying? And the answer is yeah, a little bit. But nobody likes a long intro, so let's get to the episode. It starts right where the last episode ends, except it is through Conrad's point of view, so it's very cinematic, very lovely. Honestly, like this entire episode was beautifully filmed. Get a little bit of insight into how he's feeling. We also find out that he mentions like having once wanting to be just like his father. If we go to the end of the episode and we talk about how Jeremiah will then bring up his dad and be like, I'm so proud, so happy that he seems to finally be trying with me. And I think this is like the perfect highlighting moment of how like in many ways Conrad is Laurel, Jeremiah is Adam, and Belly is Susanna, and the entirety of this show, they literally wrote it out for us multiple times during season 1 that Laurel's like soulmate was Susanna, and then same thing for Susanna, it was Laurel. Could it be any clearer, people? Swapping from the Belly Conrad timeline to Taylor, Jeremiah, Steven, and Breaker. Taylor going to drive Jared to Cousins, not a storyline in the book. Wedding planner Taylor actually feels a lot more hands-on in the book than she feels in the TV show. The salon inspection storyline being the reason why Taylor can't make it to Cousins, also not a thing. Taylor's mom's entire salon arc, non-existent. That entire like, oh god, now Belly has to spend the 4th with the Fisher boys, how tragic. Not a storyline. More things also not in the book. That flashback of them as little kids with the bikes, not there. But very important because this whole narrative of like Conrad only seemed to care about Belly after she got quote unquote pretty has really started to carry, and it holds no weight. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't. So Jeremiah's gonna stay back at the office, so he can't make it to help Belly with the wedding planning, right? And for that we are incredibly grateful. Shout out to Michaels for having a sale. Now that I have naturally just went back to Belly and Conrad, let's talk about that kitchen sink, because anything I buy you can eat. It is actually from the book. Chapter 30. The first week in Cousins, I steered clear of Conrad. I couldn't deal with one more person telling me I was making a mistake, especially judging Conrad. Very similar, very similar. So she goes into the cupboards and pulls out a strawberry Pop-Tart. Goes out into the deck and he's coming from a jog. Hey, I said, where are you coming from? The gym? Conrad said, walking past me. Then he stopped short. Is that what you're eating for breakfast? I was munching on the edge of the Pop-Tart. Yeah, but it's my last one, sorry. He ignored me. I left cereal out on the counter. There's fruit in the fruit bowl too. I shrugged. I thought it was yours. I didn't want to eat your stuff without asking. Impatiently, he says, then why didn't you ask? I was taken aback. How could I ask when I'd barely seen you? We scowled at each other for 3 seconds before I saw a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Fair enough, he said. And his trace of a smile was already gone. He started to slide the glass door open, and then he turned and said, whatever I buy, you can eat. Conrad's like go-to meal being grilled chicken. Also a book canon thing, which I really enjoy. It's the little things that like remain true from the original source material into the TV show that just make me like so happy. But here, he's not like building and fixing things, which gives us the line of, I didn't know you were so handy. Belly, be so fucking for real. You're thinking what I'm thinking. Before we get to all the little fun stuff of them running their errands and me fangirling and truly thriving, let's talk about Breaker. Don't you think, Jeremiah Fisher, that I didn't catch you eyeing Denise? Okay. Also, like, I did kind of seem like a fan of Steven's game. Can we download that? Can that be like promo? It should have been. I think it would have been very popular on the App Store. So based on the rumor mill, and if you don't want to know about this, I guess you could fast forward 20-ish seconds. People are saying that Jeremiah's endgame is Denise and that Steven is supposed to end up with Taylor again. But if that's where this is going, I truly don't understand why they were building up the Steven and Denise dynamic so much and so well, because truly like I'm a fan at this point. This is coming from someone who like Steven and Taylor were my favorite ship season 2, and now I'm like, am I rooting for Denise? I kind of am, because their scenes on the train were like so fun and the banter was amazing, the chemistry was great. It all feels like it's kind of being completely wasted. Okay, let's start talking about the good stuff. Belly needs to borrow Conrad's car to go run a couple errands. These errands happen over the course of a couple different days in the book, but they all occur. And now I'm thinking like, oh my god, poor Belly, she was like really going through it because she had experienced all of this in a matter of like 4 hours. No wonder sis was shook. And I know we've already given Michael's a shout out. Let's give a shout out to the seats being down so that her bike fits. Also that scene, it is so evident I'm a Conrad girly. These moments don't happen entirely in chronological order from the TV show to the book, but let's keep the TV show version and let's start with the post office. It actually starts at their home. He's coming back from a run. Belly asks like, hey, you've had a good run. Do you happen to know what a love stamp is? And then Conrad offers like, hey, we can take my car. Save you the trip. Let's go to the post office. They eventually make their way into the car. And there the conversation starts with, I can't remember the last time I was in your car, I said, turning on the radio. Without missing a beat, he said, your prom. Oh god, prom. The site of our breakup. The tension is already there. It is tensioning. They make it to the post office. She gets there. She's like, can I see your love stamps? And I was like, yeah, I'll take a sheet. They have like little bells on them. And then she says, are those wedding invitations? She's like, yeah, they are. The woman then asks, do you want me to hand cancel them? And she has no idea what hand canceling means. I panicked. What did hand cancel mean? I wanted to text Taylor and ask, but the line was growing behind me, so I hastily said, no thank you. After I paid for my stamps, I went outside, sat at the curb, stamped all my invitations, one for my mother too, just in case. She could still change her mind. There was still a chance. Conrad drove up as I was pushing him through the mail slot outside. This was really happening. I was really getting married. No turning back now. Not that I wanted to. Climbing into the car, I asked, did you get your new drill? Yep, he said. Did you find your love stamps? Yep, I said. Hey, what does it mean to hand cancel mail? He then explains to her what hand canceling means. They bring up the fact that he used to collect stamps. I totally forgot about that. Holy crap, you were so serious about your stamps. You wouldn't even let us touch your book without permission. Remember how Joe stole one and then used it to send a postcard and you were so mad you cried? Hey, that was my Abraham Lincoln stamp that my grandpa gave me. It was a rare stamp. Someone on Twitter, oh god, I wish I saved this, posted that stamp and the stamp is worth like a couple $1,000s. Like, I'm not even joking, like it was over like 20k. That's how rare it is. And it came from his grandpa. Jeremiah's kind of a jerk and always has been, but his true colors really have been shining this season. Like this episode, every time he was on screen and you want to fucking, can I say that? I don't mean it. It just felt like nails on a chalkboard. I also get the nails on a chalkboard feeling with aluminum foil. Am I the only one? I cannot touch aluminum foil because I get full body goosebumps and it feels like someone is clawing at my brain. They talk about how he was a little geek and everything that he said Belly believed was factual, and then she asks him, do you have a girlfriend? And this is how we get the mention of Agnes. Like this is the first time in the timeline of the books that Agnes gets brought up. The only time Agnes gets brought up is when we get the have you ever been in love conversation. So yeah, Agnes is very, very, very minor character in the book series. Again, these errands take place over the course of a couple different days. So again, we start at the summer house where Belly asks him, want to keep me company while I go to the florist in Dryerstown? I have to pick out flowers for the wedding. Isn't Jer coming today? Can't you go with him? He sounded annoyed. I was surprised and a little hurt. I thought we'd been getting along really well these past few weeks. He's not going to be here until tonight, I said playfully. He was pretty quiet at the florist. Taylor and I had decided on calla lilies, but when I looked through the book of flower arrangements, I ended up picking peonies instead. I showed them to Conrad and he said, those were Mom's favorite. I remember, I said. I ordered 5 arrangements, one for each of the tables, just like Denise Coletti told me. What about bouquets? The florist asked me. Can those be peonies too? I asked. Sure, we can do that. I'll put together something nice for you. To Conrad, she said. Are you and your groomsmen buying boutonnieres? He turned red. I'm not the groom, he said. He's the brother of the groom, I said, handing her Mr. Fisher's credit card. We left pretty soon after. On the way back home, we passed a fruit stand on the side of the road. We're going to get into that peach scene, but as you may have caught on, at this point, Adam has already said, like, hey, I want to help with the wedding, which is why Denise was significantly more of a minor character here and is literally just there for wedding planning, is helping, and why she has Adam's credit card. Also, not book canon, but is TV show canon, is the fact that Adam gets Kaylee, you know, the woman that he cheated on Susanna with, Kaylee, to help with the wedding. As much as I would love to get into the peach scene, which happens chronologically right after the florist, I was talking about the cake and the phone call. I was literally having such a fun time watching this episode, and then we get to that cake scene where she has to call Jeremiah, and he's like bitching about the fucking mirror glaze, and he's like, I don't want that. Dude, he's so annoying, so pretentious. And then loves to guilt trip Belly into things like, we both wanted one thing. The cake is my one thing. And then the dance is his one thing later. You know what was Belly's one thing? Having it at the house. Is it gonna be at the house? No. Manchild. The cake conversations happened earlier and are actually connected to the dance conversations, which I will touch on towards the end of this, or at least the end of talking about this specific episode. He says, you decided the cake was going to be carrot because Belly really wanted to carrot cake for the wedding. He reminded me, mayonnaise dripping down his chin. I like chocolate cake. I don't want to be the only one making decisions. I don't even know what I'm doing. Then I'll help more. Just tell me what to do. Hey, I've got an idea. What if the wedding is Tarantino themed? Like, he really isn't taking this seriously at all. But this is the second time they talk about cakes. The first time where Belly ultimately chooses that she wants a carrot cake, he does bring up a chocolate cake with raspberry filling.
Belly, cacao is the bean. It's what chocolate is made of. Look, the whole flavor profile depends on the bitterness of the dark chocolate and the sweet tartness of the raspberry.
I want a chocolate cake, he said, with raspberry filling. Maybe one layer can be carrot and one can be chocolate, I suggested, cradling the phone on my shoulder. I heard they can do that. I was sitting on my bedroom floor, counting my tips for the night. I hadn't even changed out of my work shirt yet, even though it had grease stains all down the front. But I was too beat to bother. I just loosened the necktie, a chocolate raspberry carrot cake with cream cheese frosting on my layer. I reminded him. Sounds kind of complicated to me, flavor profile wise, but fine, let's do it. I smiled at myself as I stacked 1s and 5s and 10s. Jeremiah was watching a lot of Food Network. He had been home. Well, first we have to pay for this alleged cake, I said. I've been taking all the shifts I can. I've only got $120 saved so far. Taylor says wedding cakes are really expensive. Maybe I should ask her mom to bake the cake instead. Mrs. Jewel's a really good baker. We probably couldn't ask for anything too fancy though. Jeremiah had been silent on the other line. Then he finally said, I don't know if you should keep working at Bears. What are you talking about? We need the money. Yeah, but I have the money my mom left me. We can use that for the wedding. I don't like you having to work so hard. But you're working too. He's like, girl, I'm an intern. You're doing double shifts at Bears. Those two things are not the same, and I agree. So yes, we get Conrad being lovely and being like, I can offer to pick up the cake in the TV show. And then you can like maybe get rid of the cacao. Because as Belly said, she likes milk chocolate. You can let go of the mirror glaze. And then you have Jeremiah complain and be like, but I want the mirror glaze. And they're going to be able to do that because guess what Adam says? Yeah, well, he's not talking to him on the phone. He's talking to him in person. Yeah, I'll pay for the wedding, and then here's Kaylee. She can help you with stuff. But now they have to have it at the club because he's finally gonna get what he's been paying for years. Both Jeremiah and Adam are so annoying in this episode. They're so annoying in the entire series. But this episode specifically, because I was having a blast every time I was getting Belly Conrad on my screen. Like, I had not felt the buzz in forever. And then I felt the buzz. I really did. But on a positive note, they go to Michael's, which this scene had girlies on the internet losing their mind, and they had me losing my mind too. The song choices, the way it was filmed, no notes. This chapter takes place in Conrad's point of view because the book is split between Belly POV and Conrad POV, and this one just happens to be in Conrad's. So they take her car because it's bigger, and he sees her driving and is like, hey, you're not a bad driver. And she's like, yeah, Jeremiah taught me, but also I'm kind of a good driver. Like, I've always kind of been. And he's like, not true. They mention that certain things have changed. He says, you wear heels now. At the garden ceremony, you had on heels. There was a minute of hesitation before she said, yeah, sometimes. I still trip in them though. Ruefully, she added, I'm like a real lady now. I reached out to touch her hand, but the last second I pointed instead. You still bite your nails. She curled her fingers around the steering wheel. With a little smile, she said, you don't miss a thing. Okay, so what are we picking up here? Flower holders? Belly laughed. Yeah, flower holders. In other words, vases. She grabbed a cart and I took it from her, pushing it in front of us. If we should decide on hurricane vases. What's a hurricane vase, and how the hell does Jer know what one is? I didn't mean Jer and I decided. I meant me and Taylor. She grabbed the cart and walked ahead of me. I followed her to aisle 12. See, Belly held out a fat glass vase. I crossed my arms. Very nice, I said in a bored voice. She put down the vase and picked up a skinnier one and didn't look at me as she said, I'm sorry. You're the one stuck doing this with me. I know it's lame. It's not that lame. I started grabbing the vases off the shelf. How many do we need? Wait, we should get the big ones or the medium ones. I think maybe the medium ones, she said, lifting one up and checking the price tag. Yeah, definitely the medium ones. I only see a few left. Can you go ask someone who works here? He's like, no, the big one. And she's like, okay, right, the big ones are nicer. And then they talk about candles. And they look over and see the fake flowers. However, these fake flowers don't end up being a callback to the flashback that happened in the classroom. That again had girls on the internet freaking. From here, they go home and they're like, oh, Jeremiah's car's in the driveway. But because all of these events happen in one day in the TV show, we need to go to the peach scene. We're going to the peach farm. not gonna get married because we might emotionally cheat on our fiance with his brother. Ah, yes, the peach scene. In the book, it happens through Belly's point of view. On the way back, we passed a fruit stand on the side of the road. I wanted to stop, but I didn't say so. I guess Conrad could tell because he asked, "Want to go back?" "No, it's okay. We already passed it," I said. He made a U-turn on the one-way street. The fruit stand was a couple of wooden crates of peaches and a sign that said to leave the money in the container. I put in $1 because I didn't have change. "Aren't you gonna have one?" I asked him, wiping off my peach on my shirt. "Nah, I'm allergic to peaches." "Since when?" I demanded. "I've definitely seen you eat a peach before. Or peach pie at least." He shrugged. "Since always. I've eaten them before, but they make the inside of my mouth itch." Before I bit into my peach, I closed my eyes and inhaled the fragrance. "Your loss." I've seen people say, like, if this was Jeremiah, he definitely would have, like, driven past the peach stand. And you know what? I don't doubt it. Secondly, I've also seen people comment on the fact of, like, the symbolism of the peach being, like, something he can't eat and Belly being someone he can't be with. We love symbolism in this household. I had never had a peach like this before, so perfectly ripe. Your fingers sank into the fruit, a little just touching it. I gobbled it up. Peach juice running down my chin, plum dripping all over my hands. It was sweet and tart, a full body experience. Smell and taste and sight. "This is a perfect peach," I said. "I almost don't want to have another one because there's no way it could be as good." "Let's test it out," Conrad said, and he went and bought me another peach. I ate that one in 4 bites. "Was it good?" he said. Yeah, it was. People are being kind of dramatic with the peach scene because some people I've seen are like, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable." Some of you have not watched the peach scene in Call Me By Your Name, and it shows because this peach scene is quite tame. Conrad reached out and wiped my chin with his shirt. It was maybe the most intimate thing anyone has ever done to me. I felt lightheaded, unsteady on my feet. It was all in the way he looked at me, just those few seconds. Then he dropped his eyes like the sun was too bright behind me. I stepped aside from him and said, "I'm gonna buy some more for Jer." "Good idea," he said, backing away. "I'll go wait for you in the car." I was shaking as I piled peaches into a plastic bag. Just one look, one touch from him, and I was shaking. It was maddening. I was marrying his brother. Back in the car, I didn't speak. I couldn't even if I wanted to. I didn't have any words. In the quiet of the air-conditioned car, the silence between us was blaring. Someone play "Story of Us" by Taylor Swift.
I've never heard silence quite this loud.
So I rolled down my window and fixed my eyes on all the moving objects on my side. At home, Jeremiah's car was parked in the driveway. So I don't get the "honey, I'm home," which honestly ruined my night. Well, I watched it in the morning. It ruined my morning. But on a lighter note, I did have a little bit of a giggle as we get the iconic version from the audiobook.
Chapter 35. Conrad. I would rather have someone shoot me in the head with a nail gun repeatedly than have to watch the two of them cuddling on the couch together all night.
But they switched it up a little. Take into account the moment. And I love that.
I would rather have someone shoot me in the head with a nail gun repeatedly than have to watch him touching her like that all night.
We now have 2 versions. What more could a girl ask for? Don't you think I forgot about something? Because prior to Jeremiah's return, we get a scene that in fact does not exist in the book because Belly and Conrad don't sleep together in the books. But had literally the whole internet shook. Because never in my life did I think we would be getting this in the TV show The Summer I Turned Pretty. The callback, which by the way, if Belly, you're bringing this up, you've had that on your mind for hours. Because obviously it's through Conrad's point of view. So it's like, oh, he's thinking about, like, they're just having dinner. They're seasoned chicken. And he's like, remember the time? But she's the one who brought it up. So she too is remembering the time. Should we go back to cousins? Because I want to talk about the Pier scene. It is 4th of July. BellyJere are talking on the pier about the wedding where he says, you know what, my dad is going to finally agree to pay for this. And he wants Kaylee to be the one who helps you. Now it has to occur at the club. And she's like, but I don't really love the idea of a bunch of strangers being there. Like, it's not for me. And of course, Jeremiah continues to make everything about himself and being like, well, I'm just really happy that my dad has taken me into account and he's showing that he cares. Very, very annoying. You know what I've started thinking about though? The fact that if Adam is now paying for this and paying for the cake, Belly's still wearing a prom dress as her wedding dress. Well, in the next episode, Jerry's getting a custom suit. You know what else Belly still has? That tiny ass fucking ring. Belly girl, stand up, I'm so serious. She also mentions the phone banking job that is not canon to the books, the fact that they're gonna go to Boston and spend some time there because Girly spent so many hours with Conrad Fisher and is now reevaluating her decision. Can't say I blame her because Jeremiah's like, oh, you don't have to be stuck here with my brother. Dude, she was thinking about the time that he was fingering her. Okay? Ugh, would you look at that? It's time for episode 6. Was it as good as episode 5? No, it wasn't. Not enough Conrad, too much Jeremiah. When I am filming this, only up to episode 6 has come out, so like I am dying for more because I know what's coming I need it. I need it now. Different day, different sleigh. So episode 6 starts with Belly staying at Adam's place in Boston with Jeremiah, because she spent a little too much time with Conrad and is now like, I need to get away. And Adam does in fact high-key hate it because she's apparently very messy and also can't take a hint, which honestly is kind of very Jeremiah of her, because then they go apartment shopping. Shopping? Would you call it apartment shopping? No, I don't think you would. Apartment searching? Apartment hunting. That's it. And Jeremiah brings up the fact that he has terrible credit and the fact that he wants to have all his friends over. Just very interesting fella. They do go apartment hunting in the book as well. That scene is probably the closest to the cat pee one. I glanced towards the open door where the landlord is waiting for us. He looked around my dad's age. He had a long white ponytail, a mustache, and a neck of a topless mermaid on his forearm. He caught me looking at the tattoo and grinned at me. I gave him a weak smile in return. Then I walked back into the bedroom and motioned for Jeremiah to follow me. It smells like cigarette smoke in here, I whispered. It's like absorbed in the carpet. Febreze it, baby. You Febreze it by yourself. I'm not living here. What's your problem? This place is practically on campus. It's so close and there's an outdoor space. We can grill. Think of all the parties we can have. Come on, Belly. Come on, nothing. Let's go back to the first place we looked at. The place had central air conditioning. Above us, I could feel rather than hear the bass of someone's stereo pumping. She describes this place as basically a frat house, which honestly would be Jeremiah's dream. That cousin, when she goes to the club for the wedding venue stuff, there's a couple things that caught my eye and caught my ear. One was the Jenny Han cameo. Second was the anatomical heart structure, eye sculpture, which I didn't catch on the first watch, but on a rewatch, it's literally in the folder that Taylor brings. They also mentioned that like, oh, your mom could do the unity candle, and she's like, no. So now I'm thinking, is Laurel gonna do the unity candle after the Belly Conrad wedding? Perhaps. And I look forward to it. Stepping aside from Belly for a little bit, let's go to Breaker. So we have a conversation between Denise and Steven about the bridal shower, and she's like, Taylor clearly has something here, and he's like, no. We're just friends. We also have Kaylee helping with the wedding planning, like hanging out in Adam's office. This is also the episode in which the Fisher boys find out about Adam and Kaylee. And Conrad's very, very pissed at the situation because like, how dare he now publicly go out with his mistress, and how dare he ask her to plan the wedding. Jeremiah's just kind of just there. We know Conrad is upset because he says as much, which if you didn't have eyes, it wasn't clear before, you now know, when he's talking to Laurel. And Laurel also finds out that he had known about the affair since before. Because as he says himself, he's pretty good at keeping secrets. So he had known and just not told anyone besides Belly. Conrad asking Laurel to go to the bridal shower and to go to the wedding and be a part of all of this also does happen in the book. Honestly, I kind of just love Conrad and Laurel's relationship. So he asks her to meet up for breakfast. This is his thoughts about Laurel. I guess Laurel had always been special to me ever since I was a kid. I just liked being near her. I liked the way that you could be quiet around her and with her. She didn't talk down to the kids. She treated us like equals. After my mom died and I transferred to Stanford, I started calling Laurel every once in a while. I still liked talking to her, and I liked that she reminded me of my mom without it hurting too much. It was like a link to home. Actually, when they take a seat, he says, I called you because I wanted to talk about the wedding. Her face got tight, but she didn't interrupt. Laura, I think you should go. I think you should be a part of it. You're her mom. Laurel stirred her coffee. Then she looked at me and said, you think they should get married? I didn't say that. Then what do you think? I think they love each other and they're going to do it regardless of what anyone else says. And I think that Belly really needs her mom right now. Really, she said. Isabel seems to be doing just fine without me. She never even called to let me know where she was. I had to hear it from Adam, who, by the way, is apparently paying for the wedding now. Classic Adam. And now Steven's the best man, and Belly's dad is going to give in the way he always does. It seems I'm the only holdout. Belly isn't fine. She's barely eating, and I heard her crying last night. She was saying how Taylor's mom is throwing her the wedding shower, but it won't feel right without her mom there. Laurel's face softened, just a little. Lucinda's throwing her a shower? And stirring her coffee again, she said, Jer hasn't thought this through. He isn't taking it seriously enough. You're right. He's not a serious guy, but believe me, he's serious about her. I took a deep breath before I said, Laurel, if you don't go, you'll regret it. Jeremiah is serious about her. Boy, are they wrong. In both, Laurel eventually does agree to go, but I will say the scene in the TV show feels a lot more heartfelt, and I prefer that version a lot more than I prefer the book version. Let's go to the bridal shower, as Belly refers to it as Taylor's bridal shower. I keep thinking of it as her shower because she and her mom are the ones who were throwing it. Yes, that is why. It's not because she's so not looking forward to this wedding. She walks in, she sees her friend, she sees Taylor and Lucinda, and also Mrs. Evans, the next door neighbor. And sitting next to her on the love seat, wearing a light blue suit, was my mother. My eyes filled when I saw her. We didn't run across the room to embrace, we didn't weep. I made my way around the room, hugging women and girls, and when I finally reached my mother, we hugged tightly for a long time. We didn't have to say anything because we both knew. At the buffet table, Taylor squeezed my hand. Happy? She whispered. So happy, I whispered back. She then asked, did you talk to my mom? She said she blew me a little kiss. My mom said it wasn't even that hard to try to convince her to come. Little do they know Conrad Fisher is involved. But in the show, we do get Taylor being like, I didn't talk to Laurel. Did you? Who talked to Laurel? And it's like, oh, Conrad talked to Laurel. But that happens after. During the scene in which they open gifts, as one does in a bridal shower, I guess. I don't know, I've never been to one. We see the stationery, right? And there it says, Isabel Fisher. And she's like, oh, I don't know, this is awkward. And it made me think, there is no way Belly didn't spend her entire teenage and preteen years writing Isabel Fisher on a notebook. Granted, it was for the other brother, and maybe that's why this was awkward. I also think it brings up like an interesting talking point of what will happen when her and Conrad get together. Like, is she this time gonna hyphenate? Is she taking his last name? Or are they both about to become Conklins? Plot twist, they both take Laurel's last name and they become Parks. World of possibilities. We then get lingerie from Lucinda and Steven's entrance.
Sorry, I am like,
Steven bringing air tags so she doesn't lose Jeremiah in the honeymoon is so fucking funny to me. Because he isn't even about the cheating. Like, he doesn't know that this is triggering for her. Maybe she should put an air tag on him in Cabo. While the bridal shower is happening, the three Fishers are getting suits. The fact that Jeremiah is getting a custom-made suit and Belly is using a prom dress off the clearance section says a lot. In the car ride, he also mentions that Annika is hot. And if you're keeping track, I think this is time 2 or time 3 that he calls other women hot. Adam confesses that he wants to bring Kaylee to the wedding. Not awkward at all. Back at the not the bachelor party, the bridal shower, Taylor and Steven's banter is A1. It honestly was reminding me a lot of why I loved them in the first place. We get to that game of like questions and they talk about Belly's memory of Rosie the dog. And her and Steven get into a little bit of an argument because who found Rosie the dog? Ah yes, Conrad, was it? Let's get a refresher. I said, hey, remember that time when you found the dog on the beach and we named her Rosie until we realized she was a boy and then we kept calling her Rosie anyways? He looked at me and frowned slightly, remembering. It wasn't me who found her, it was Conrad. No, it wasn't, it was you, and then you cried when her owners came and got her. No, that was Conrad. His voice was hard all of a sudden. I don't think so, I said. It definitely was. Are you sure? I asked him. I'm positive. Steven and I gave him so much shit for crying. Had it really been Conrad? I'd been so sure of that memory. We had Rosie for 3 glorious days before someone claimed her. Rosie was sweet. She was yellow and she had soft fur. And we fought over whose bed she would sleep in at night. We decided to take turns. My turn was last, so I never got to keep her in my bed. What else had I remembered wrong? I was a person who loved to play, remember when in my head. I always pride myself on how I remembered every detail. It scared me to think that my memories could be just ever so slightly wrong. Her creating scenarios in which Jeremiah was the center of them as opposed to Conrad really says a lot about her as a person, I think. It just highlights how she's really switched the narrative in her head to make Jeremiah seem like he's the one, when in reality, not at all. During the Lemon Square scene, I really was feeling it for Taylor because it's like, oh, girly not being able to talk about her feelings is really killing her slowly, and I just think it's really tragic. Like, when you think about it, in many ways, Taylor and Conrad are kind of like 2 sides of the same coin. Anyways, before Laurel leaves, she gives Belly airline tickets. Well, airline gift cards. And this is the gift card that she's going to use when she eventually goes to Paris. Post failed wedding. Because there's a lot of world to see out there, Belly. So Belly and Steven are staying home with Laurel for the night. Kind of cute. They're all back in the same house. In the house in which Belly and her mom used to watch musicals. And as we know, Bye Bye Birdie was her favorite. As the jellyfish solo endeavors come to an end, Jeremiah has to stay with like the partners, and Adam makes a comment of like, oh, Belly's gonna be back, but she won't be alone, she'll be with Conrad, hee hee. If only he knew how much that bothered Jeremiah. And then like I said, Belly eventually does make it back. Which brings us to the wound scene. The very beloved wound scene. Because Conrad is surfing when he gets a little hurt. And then he walks in trailing blood as she's doing thank you cards. And I won't lie, in my head, like when I read this book and I was expecting the wound scene to come, I really did think that cut was going to be so much greater. In the book, instead of her writing her thank you letter, she's vacuuming. So Conrad pushes the sliding door open. He had been surfing all morning. I turned off the vacuum cleaner. What's wrong? I asked him. He looked pale and his hair was dripping in his eyes. Wipe out, he said. I got cut by my fin. Bad? No, not too bad. I watched him limp over to the bathroom. I ran over. He was sitting on the sill of the tub and blood was soaking through his towel. Running down his leg, I felt woozy for a split second. It already stopped bleeding, Conrad said. His face was as white as the marble counter. He looked like he was going to pass out. Looks worse than it is. Keep putting pressure, I said. I'm gonna get some stuff to clean it. It must have really hurt because he obeyed me. When I came back with hydrogen peroxide and gauze and Bactin, he was still sitting there in the same position, his leg in the tub. I sat down next to him and straddled the sill, facing him. Let go, I told him. I'm fine, he said. I'll do it. No, you're not fine, I said. Then he let go of the towel and I pressed down on it. He winced. Sorry, I said. I held it for a few minutes and then I peeled the bloody towel away from his leg. The cut was a few inches long and skinny. It wasn't bleeding as heavily, so I went ahead and poured hydrogen peroxide on the wound. Ow, he yelled. Don't be such a baby, it's barely scratched. I lied. I was wondering if he was gonna need stitches. Conrad leaned in closer to me. His head was barely resting on my shoulder as I cleaned it. I could feel him breathing in and out, could feel each sharp intake of breath every time I touched the cut. When the cut was clean, it looked a lot better. I dabbed Bactin on it, wrapped his calf in gauze, then patted his knee. See, all better. He lifted his head up and said, thank you. Sure, I said. There was a moment between us of just looking into each other, holding each other's gaze. My breath quickened. If I had leaned forward just a little, we would be kissing. I knew I should move away, but I couldn't. Belly, I could feel his breath on my neck. Yeah? Will you help me stand up? I'm gonna go upstairs and take a nap. You've lost a lot of blood, I said, my voice vibrating off the bathroom tile. I don't think you're supposed to sleep. He smiled weakly. That's with concussions. I scrambled up and pulled him up next to me. Can you walk, I asked. I'll manage, she said, limping away from me, his hand on the wall. My t-shirt was damp from his head on my shoulder. Mechanically, I started cleaning up the mess and my heart pounding in my chest. What just happened? What did I almost do? This wasn't like the Peaches. This was all me. Conrad slept right through dinner time and I was wondering if I should bring him some food, but decided against it. Instead, I heated up one of the frozen pizzas I bought. Then I spent the rest of my night cleaning the downstairs. I was relieved that everybody would be here tomorrow and it wouldn't just be me and him anymore. Once Jeremiah was here, everything would go back to normal. I love that this time she's like, should I be the one to feed him because he seems to really want to feed me all the time? I also the thought of her just being like, hey, once Jeremiah's back, this will all go away. As if, girl, as if. And this is 100% the Swiftie of me, but I loved the idea of like the Taylor Swift songs disappearing once she finds out about Jeremiah and Cabo and them coming back with the wound scene, with the heartbeat, with the last song that we got when she's like running away, being you're losing me, with the line of my heart won't start again. It was perfect. Whoever came up with that, round of applause. Almost kissed the clutching of the heart. Really, truly, cinema. And that's where episode 6 ends. So that's where we're gonna wrap this up. And let me tell you, one positive thing coming your way soon is I have a microphone coming, so the audio is gonna significantly improve. So you can look forward to that. The next one will have episodes 7 and 8. Again, it should be up in about a week. Filming and editing these just have taken a little bit longer than I expected to, so it's not going to be every Saturday at 12:30 on the dot Pacific Standard Time like it had been for the last couple of videos I've posted, maybe for the last like 5-6 months. I've been pretty good, not as much recently though. But with that, I will leave you and I will say have a good day, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye!